Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the Know Your Gear podcast, number 276. We've made another week. It's Friday, and I hope you guys are all doing fine. I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully you guys hear me and see me just okay. And I thank you all for coming early, that came early and putting in questions. We have some of those already banked up, and then of course some super chats. And if you guys, as always, I like to point out that if you see somebody with a name in blue with a little wrench, that means they're a moderator. If you see a name in green, that is a member. So they're just supporting the channel on this platform. And again, this show is sponsored by patrons and members. That's how we've been doing this for the last few years. I'm really proud to say we've continued 276 episodes and maintained a very significant sponsorship through you guys. I mean, it's been pretty cool. So I want to thank you again for that. Sometimes I don't know if I thank you guys enough, so I want to take that opportunity. All right, we have some guitar stuff to talk about, and I have some questions that I penned, and I think I'll just jump into it. Let's just get into some guitar talk. The first pinned question I saw was from Travis, who says, "Hey Phil, any suggestions for fixing the neck dive on an Epiphone V? 3-inch strap helps, but still it dives." And so if you guys saw, I did a video, I think it was yesterday, about Levy straps and using their straps, and using a 3-inch strap is kind of to support my SG from neck dive. There's a couple things you can do. First of all, you got to kind of figure out what's making the neck heavy. Is it because the body's super light or because the neck is heavy? In my case, my SG is light, but what people don't understand is it neck dives because it has really heavy tuning keys on there. They're locking Grovers, which are a pretty heavy key. And if I take them off and I put like ultralight hip shots, I wouldn't have the neck dive anymore. I just haven't, I didn't want to do it for a couple reasons. One, I don't want to ruin the nitrocellulose lacquer finish. In other words, if you drill new holes, you know, obviously that's the guitar's modded, and that could devalue it. But the other thing is, if I use those ump plates, if you guys aren't familiar, I've done tons of videos of hip shot. They have these adapter plates, so you don't have to drill new holes. The problem is the plates themselves, and when you take them off after a few years, you're going to see a different discolorization of the finish underneath where the plates were. The reason I tell you that, Travis, is if I didn't have that as a problem, you know, with the SG, worrying about like one day will this thing be valuable. An Epiphone V is a very valuable guitar, but not as valuable as something like collector's edition stuff. So unless it's a collector's edition, I would say replace the tuning keys, go to something ultralight, like Hipshot ultralights, put ump plates on there. I bet you that fixes most of the problem. Of course, where the strap buttons are a big part of the problem as well. That's one way to fix it. The other way is, I've seen you guys suggest it, but over the years, working on guitars, I've seen people put fishing weights in the cavities of guitars. I've seen them put those tire weights in the guitars. There's all kinds of things. Some buckshot. I've seen them put rings, just basically metal rings. I've seen change. I've seen somebody put like a 50 cents in pennies or something inside. Those help too. Those are all suggestions. And of course, you can always try a different strap. So there's just a couple suggestions on that. And hopefully that helps a little bit. Then we have Randall, who says, best Mosrite style guitar for under $700. No Dane Electros. No Dane Electros. Okay. Let's look, because I think I know. Okay, hold on a second. I know a good one, but it's one of those things like, do they still make it? So I'm going to look and then share with you guys. Because I'm going to share in real time with you guys, so you can just see with me. So you guys can see, I'm looking at Eastwood guitars right now. Let's go to shop. Okay, whoops. Guitars. Now we're looking at guitars, and yeah, see here's it's $1,099. See, that's what I was curious about, to see if they were still affordable. Because Eastwood used to make, or does make, some really cool Mosrite copies, but I didn't know what their pricing was like. And I thought they even they used to have it by category, airline. See, I always thought they had an actual Mosrite brand, but maybe not. Let me go back. But maybe you can find one of these used, like something like this. the side jack. I would have swore they made quite a few more editions like this than what I'm seeing now. But now you at least have somewhere you can look and maybe go into Reverb and look at used. Sorry, let me go back to the main page. So I like their stuff in Mosrite copies. There's I thought somebody's saying Reverend. Reverend, I'm sure they make a Mosrite copy. I thought Harley Benton now makes a Mosrite copy. I thought that's what I saw somewhere. I don't know if it was on a thumbnail. I don't know if it was something advertised to me from Tolman. I don't know what it was, but I thought I saw it, and I remember thinking like, oh, that's a good idea. Because Mosrite's definitely a guitar that a lot of people are trying to get their hands on and not pay a ton of money for them. So, yeah, Double R Guitar says Harley Benton's making a Mosrite style now. That's what I thought. I thought I saw that. So I would check that out. I bet you that's going to be the best deal on the market for the price. So, in the idea that it's going to be inexpensive. Zombie Guitar Company says Schecter Ultra 3. Kinda. Yeah, I can see that too. I mean, Schecter's done some of that stuff too. But when I think Mosrite, I'm like really thinking like the not the variations of Mosrite, but the more kind of exactly like it. So then we had this is a great question. This came from Travis. And same Travis, he was first and now he's third. He put, hey Phil, have you watched any of the Musicnomad KISS, keep it simple, stupid, setup videos? Wondering if he had any thoughts on the methodology. Okay, so a couple things, Travis. I made a point to point out when I was at Sweetwater doing the, is the 55-point inspection thing real deep dive when I was doing that. I made a point to show you guys. I even had to edit it afterwards and kind of put it in there. I started noticing they were using the system. And so, I have that system here, the Musicnomad system. And it's a very good system. I would say it's one of those things, like I have trouble even critiquing it because it's one of the first of its kind like that. I've seen a couple attempts to try to make like a, setups for dummies kind of concept. But I have to say, as a setup for dummies, which I like that kind of saying, remember the old books, computer for dummies, what I mean? Word for dummies, remember that? Excel for dummies. Anyways, for setups for dummies, I would say the KISS method by Musicnomad is the best system. The price is extremely affordable. My only, like I said, I can't help it. I don't want to critique it, but I do have one critique. And I do have a video of it. I actually made a video of it like last year. And I don't know why it didn't go out. Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know why. I need to follow up why we never put it out. But it's done. It's been done for a while. So I have a Musicnomad KISS video. I know one of the concerns I had when I did the video was, Musicnomad had talked to me and sent me the kit and asked me my thoughts. And so I did the video. And in the video, I have two approaches to it. The way that they tell you to do it and the way I kind of did it. And it's not like, mine's better. It was more of in the video, I wasn't sure what to do with this section of it, where it's hard, the saying, there's a saying, you can't teach a old dog new tricks. By the way, I have found that to be true, literally true. Just recently, I had that happen. So I have a dog that's 14 years old and a younger dog that's like 3 years old. And we had a dog door in our sliding glass door. So if you guys are familiar with the sliding glass door, this is just to illustrate this point. What I couldn't believe if it didn't happen to me, I wouldn't believe it. So we have a dog door in the sliding glass door, and long story short, the sliding glass door needed to be replaced. So we decided to put in new French doors, so the double doors. That's the doors I like. I told my wife I don't like the sliding door. So we had them install the double doors. Well, now the dog door can't go in there because the blinds are built into the doors. So I went and cut a hole in the wall and I installed a dog door. And my dog, this 14-year-old dog, which I think is a very smart dog, every time we would put her outside, she would stare at us through the door, not the dog door, the window door, the glass door. As we would tell her, like, no, go to your dog door. And she just didn't get the concept. This went on for weeks like we would push her through the dog door, and then she would come back and then stare at us through the physical door, like, hey, the dog door's not here anymore. And we're like, it's right there. You can see, right? Luckily, my wife figured out this great idea. She took bells, and she would use bells. And she trained the dog real quick, I guess, or, with these bells, like letting her know, like, come to the bells. And the bells would be where the dog door was. So every time she would come to the door and stare at us, we'd have to go to the dog door and ring the bell so she could hear them and go to the dog door again. So I literally could not believe it. And I love it. And it makes sense to what I'm about to tell you next, which is this me and the kiss method, which is a perfect example. I swear, I heard that saying my whole life, and I thought, man, it's true. Because it was difficult. My younger dog, who I don't think is the smart of the two dogs, man, no problem with it at all. It's like, oh, the door was here, now it's there, fine. The other dog was like, I don't know what the door is. So anyways, back to the kiss method. What it is the method is perfect. The problem for somebody like me is I've been doing setups and repairs for almost 20 years. And so at this point, there's a couple things about it that are tricky for me because, I want to do what I want to do. So that was my only thing. And to be honest with you, I did a slight version of like, hey, if I could do it this way, I would do it this way. And I think that's where I was a little like, I don't want to create damage. I don't want to do a video and then you guys go, well, which one should I do? Their method or Phil's little adjustment? And I don't think you should do the way I did it. I think you should follow their system. I think their system has a more way more thought out idea on how they did it. So that's why I wanted to make a point to point out to you guys that Sweetwater is also using basically that method as well. By the way, for the record, if you watch that video, you know what? Now I want to really put it out. Let me go through the video and pull it and see if I can get it out in the next week or two. If you watch the way they do it, they're doing it the way I was doing it, which is a slight adjustment, a little adjustment to the way they're doing it. I just seem to make more sense to do it that way to me. So there you go. So that's my thoughts on that. I like their system. It's like $69 or something like that. Totally worth it. Even if you live in a place where setups are still $40, $45, it's totally worth it. I don't think anyone would have trouble with this system. I think it's pretty straightforward. And in fact, that was another problem we had. The original idea for the video was I wanted somebody to come over and have someone who's never done a setup use it and then I give feedback after they do the setup. I thought, wouldn't that be a great video? Right? Have someone who's never done a setup before use the KISS method to set up a guitar and then have me critique their work in the idea of like how close did they get with this system off a first try? How good is that? And it was COVID because, it was just hard to get somebody that was willing to be on camera and of course, deal with all the COVID stuff. So, so maybe I can add that in and do something like that. You guys let me know. That's something I'd really appreciate if you guys let me know. If you like that idea for a video on the Musicnomad system, would you rather see me just do a video of how to use it? Or would you rather me do what we did when we did remember when I did the, Sharpen My Axe with Melissa, where I sent her the tools and I sent her a couple of videos and then she did all the work? Something like that, but maybe in person. So something like that. So, okay. Okay, next question. We got more questions, more subjects. The next one is going to be from Kevin, who says, hey, Phil, thanks to you and your positive influence. I will be the proud owner of a Paul Reed Smith SE Custom 24 soon. What pickups would you upgrade to? I play mostly metal, rock, and occasionally the blues. It's tricky because when you say that, I play metal, rock, and the blues. To me, those are different. You can obviously do all the genres with that. What I would tell you is this. I think there's only one direction you can go if you say, I want to play metal, rock, and the blues. And what I mean by that is if you go with an aggressive pickup, it will do great at metal, it'll do okay at rock, and it won't do great at blues. If you go with a mid output pickup to a lower output pickup, it'll do blues great, it'll do rock great, and metal will be fine because you'll get all the gain from the amp. So I would go with a mid output to lower output pickup, something like that. Is what I would suggest for sure. There's a ton out there for that, what I can tell you, Kevin, if you would like to do, is I've been wanting to do something like this. So since you were so inspired to buy a PRS SE from something I did, okay, right? I'll tell you what I'll do. I have a set of black stock Northern Lights pickups in chrome or in black bobbins that I have. I have no packaging. We're waiting on a shipment of packaging from my wife. Actually does the packaging. She physically does it. She makes it. And I'll tell you what I'll do. If you email me at my email address, either the Ask Know Your Gear or the PMcKnight7, which one, just make sure it's in the subject, because that's how you get through the emails. I scan through emails and we're looking for stuff. If it's Ask, there's other people looking with me, helping me. If it's PMcKnight, it's my own eyes only. It's just I just kind of have to get to what I can get to. If you put in the subject, pickups for the PRS guitar, I'll send you a set. You can just have a set. How about that? You just got to tell me if you want chrome or chrome covers, nickel covers, or black bobbins, and I'll send you a set. I have a set of them in my PRS SE Custom 24, and I love our 22, and I love it. So maybe you'll like it too, and it'll be kind of cool because I've been wanting to do giveaways, but as you guys know, the giveaway thing's been a nightmare because of all the scammers out there, and that way we don't have to worry about anything. Kevin just emailed me, and I'd love to take care of you on that. And hopefully you don't live somewhere on the other side of the planet. And when I say that, so you know it's not a cost thing, okay? It's never a cost thing when it comes to where you guys live. It's always, I feel bad because then my wife looks at the address and she looks at me with that face like, oh God, I got to go fill out customs paperwork. So it's fine. I just kind of feel bad. I'm like volunteering her to do that, to go to the post office and do the customs paperwork. But that way we give us that way a set of pickups, something I've been wanting to do. And I know you'll like them. I know you'll like getting a set because you're thinking about putting a set in your guitar. What a way to celebrate getting a new guitar. And then maybe you can give me feedback and tell me what you like. Tell me what you think of them, if you like them. Ian Freeman says, hey, Phil, so I started a guitar a few years ago, and the collection has grown rapidly. You don't say. You got the bug, do you? He says, is it a bad idea to get rid of your first guitar? Mine was a Yamaha Pacifica 112V, solid 112V. I want to make room, but conflicted. This is a big thing, man. Much bigger than you can imagine, the weight of this decision. It will plague you. What happens is this. I do not regret in any way getting rid of my first guitar. I do regret getting rid of my second guitar because that's the guitar that meant something to me. I was, my first guitar was just a junker and it was fine, but I mean, it got me to where I needed to go. And then I got my first, I say real guitar actually, that played and it was nice. And I don't need to have my first guitar, but do I look on Reverb for ones like mine? Absolutely. I don't look for mine because I know it doesn't exist because, unfortunately, mine doesn't exist at all on the planet Earth anymore. I didn't sell it. I took it apart, sanded it down, painted it, changed it, put a pickup in it. I basically tortured that guitar, and eventually that neck ended up on another body. And then, so I mean, it got parted out. That was the beginning of my tinkering days on guitars. Is right away was I already doing stuff like that, and I modded it with a new bridge and did all kinds of stuff. So, I bet you if you read the comments, there's a lot of people telling you that they not to do it. Some will probably say, who cares? But most will say not to do it. I was gonna say, if I was gonna guess, at 65% will say not to do it at least. What I will tell you, what I will suggest to you, is this a justification for keeping it besides sentimental attachment? Because I know the problem why you want to get rid of that guitar is, you kind of feel like you got your first guitar, you outgrow it because you got nicer guitars now, right? And will you really play it? And what I've learned is I have in my collection of guitars what I like to call a community guitar. Okay. I don't mean like if my friends come over that I let them play my guitar. My friends can play all my guitars, even Ralph. So, but a community guitar is that guitar. I can't tell you it happened exactly like this, but it did happen something like this. One day I was in the house, I was in my office, and my house is not very big and I'm upstairs and if my door to my office is open, it's vaulted ceilings out in the front room. So I mean, you can hear the whole house. And I heard my wife say something like, "Oh no, those are Uncle Philip's guitars. Those are nice. Don't touch them." And she was talking to her nephews and stuff. And I was like, oh, I kind of feel bad, because I obviously don't want them to touch these nice guitars, but also I don't want them to feel like they can't touch stuff like that. So luckily at that time, I had some kind of guitar that I felt like, yeah, the boys can play this. They can't hurt it. And that's what started that, or at least that's the moment I remember having this guitar that it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about if a kid scratches it. I'm not worried about if anybody scratches it, right? I want it to be, played. I want it to be battle scarred. I don't worry about the resale value. I don't worry about, anything like that. It just, let somebody enjoy it that comes over. If I have to go somewhere and I just don't want to worry about a guitar, I bring that because it can lean against the wall. And if somebody knocks it over, it's what it is. So I would say that's what I would do with your first guitar is put it in a closet or put it away or, whatever. Just have it so that way you never have to worry about 10 years now staring on Reverb at 11 o'clock at night going, oh, I wish I could find a Yamaha Pacifica 112V in that exact color. Or is that my exact guitar? I think why not just keep it and then again have this guitar that you can, I call it, like I said, I love the term community guitar. Just let somebody enjoy it and have it. Anyone who comes around and play it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I know some of you right now, including you that asked the question, might say, well, I don't have a whole lot of people come over because sometimes people don't have as many visitors as others. But trust me, if it happens one time, it'll be worth it. As someone who has had mystery dents in their guitars many times over the years, it never ceases to happen. You get a guitar, you have a guitar, a nice guitar, some guests come over. And kids, it's always kids. Let's be honest. I don't have rowdy drunk friends. I'm too old to have rowdy drunk friends. But you can have youngsters come over, kids, and then all of a sudden you're like, hey, I don't remember having a chip in it, and it's because you never know what they're doing, and I just don't like to worry about it. So I always have something that I know they can play. Plus, another thing too, and then I'll get off this subject. But another thing too, it's also I learned too is kids really when they see one of your guitars that are cool, and they're like, "Can I play with that?" And you go, "Hey, you can play with this guitar," and it's not as cool, right? And they get kind of like, they can tell. Kids aren't stupid. They're like, they know. Oh, he does not let me touch the cool guitar. You could say something cool like, this is my first guitar. Believe it or not, kids really get interested in stuff like that. They really get attached to a concept like, oh, this is his first guitar. It means something. So now they feel like they're touching something and playing a guitar that's cool. Some of you guys' comments always. What about, Grumpy My Guitars? Like, what about rowdy drunk youngsters? Yeah, I don't have any of those. That's why the liquor's up high. Out of the way. Okay. Next subject we have Michael. Michael's question was, in my hometown, I live in his hometown where he lives. They have an amp company called Dr. Z Amps. By the way, I love Dr. Z videos. The guy who owns and builds Dr. Z or designs them, he's got great videos. He's got a cool personality. I like it. I like his vibe, and I like how he teaches stuff. And he goes, I've seen one in your background before. It's not in my background today. It's in the other room, but yes, normally yes. And he says, how do you like them? Well, I talked about last week my love-hate relationship with the Dr. Z. Sometimes I say, oh, I don't love it, and then sometimes I say I love it. Part of it is I have the Dr. Z Maz 18. I really love it. However, I wish I would have got a Dr. Z Maz 38. I know that sounds weird, right? Why more wattage? But, they're both close, but I like the 18, but I think I would have liked the 38 a little bit more. I really like that amp. Like I said, the reason I have a love-hate relationship with that amp is that amp has a very Vox vibe for me. I've been wanting a Vox amp for many years, and the Vox AC15 just does not do what I want it to do. And the AC30 does, but it's just so overpowering and crazy. And the Maz amp is this it does the thing that I like that Vox does. This chime, high-end, bright chime, clean, thing that I love. And that's what I love about it. So I think they're great amps. Some people love them. Some people hate them. I like anything, like all these brands behind me. I really like them. I've really come to the conclusion it's not an amp I don't think I'll ever get rid of. In fact, I've been playing it all week since I talked about it on the last show. That's what happens sometimes on the show. I'll talk about something and then I'm like, oh, I need to play it. So it's been in the other room being played like every day this week. That's the amp I've been playing. And I've been testing pedals for some video reviews, and I've been using it for the pedals, which was nice. Okay. Yeah, Paul says my bandmate has an AC50. Did they had an AC50, I thought, and then didn't they have an AC100? Like, it was like they had some crazy ones, right? I know they did some weird amps. Like I remember even as a Vox dealer, we had a couple of the weird ones, and then they would quickly discontinue them. So don't know. I'm not really versed in that. Like I said, when I said in fact, it's kind of not fair what I said about Dr. Z when I said I had a love-hate relationship with it. It's the same. It's really because I have a love-hate relationship with Vox. Man, Vox amps to me are just either the most magical, greatest thing I've ever heard, or just Look, I hate it. I'm like, why I hate this thing so much? I'm just laughing because I know a lot of you are like, you love Vox, and you're like, what? But I think a bunch of you are like, yep. It's just the weird amp. It's like the only amp that I know. Most amps, I either really like them or I don't care for them, or there's something about them I can say I like or dislike. But Vox is just one of those amps. Like I can plug in one day and think, why do I play anything else? And then one other day plug into them and go, how did they sell one of these things? I think, in my opinion, I think part of the problem is I think you have to actually know how to play a Vox. That's what I feel like when I play. I think when I'm nailing it for me, and that's when I'm playing and I feel like I'm on for my level of playing, and I'm like, okay, I'm nailing it. I feel like a Vox is like, yes, this thing's singing a little bit, and then. And then when my playing is is below par, it's like the Vox just sounds like a wounded duck. It's just bad. Oh, so anyways, all right, that's enough Vox love and hate at the same time. Yeah, you know what? Rocky Raccoon says, I love Vox amps when other people play them, and I play them and I hate. Wait. And then I play them and I hate how bright they are. You know, I told the story years ago. I'll tell it one time. When we were a Vox dealer, I'll never forget this. I carried Vox as a box tick, okay? Tick in a box. Some products you carry in a store because you love them, you bring them in. But that was one of those. There was a few brands you pick them up and you're like, just one more brand to tell customers you have. Like, oh, we have Marshall and Vox, right? And Fender, you know what I mean? And so like, you can go, okay, we have these brands. And anyways, this guy came in and he picks up a guitar and he plugs in this Vox AC30. And I heard the most magical guitar tone I think I don't want to say ever heard, but man, it was just, I remember standing behind the counter, like that thing you do behind the counter where you're working, you look up and you're like, okay, I'm paying attention now. You got my attention. Okay, you sound good, right? And I don't mean just his playing was great. I mean, just it sounded great. He was pulling these crazy harmonic, sustaining notes. And I was like, oh, this is great. And I'll never forget this. He leaves. He doesn't buy it. He leaves. I ran, grabbed the guitar he had, grabbed the cable, plugged in the Vox, and it went fart. And it sounded like a cross between farts and broken glass. And I thought, what just happened? What just happened? And it was him. And yes. So that was the beginning actually of my quest to find a Vox amp that I love, and also the first I realized that no, there's something up there. So for me, that's my long way of saying the Dr. Z fills that thing for me. And the Bad Cat a little bit too. The Bad Cat's got a little bit of the AC kind of vibe into it too. So I've learned to get like the AC vibe out of the Bad Cat and the Vox, or and the Dr. Z, and that's why I don't have a Vox. I feel like they do the that's another thing too. They do the Vox tone a little quieter. I had the Vox AC4 thinking, okay, if I get down to 4 watts, and it's just, to me, I just cannot get Voxes to do their thing unless they're just cranked. And not even with an attenuator. They just got to be cranked. And that's it. So, and I've tried a lot of Vox pedals, but style pedals, Vox. But I heard the new UA Vox pedal is supposed to be amazing. I did not try that one at the GearFest thing. I tried the 65, and that was amazing. So I can't imagine the Vox is far off. So that would be a pedal I would definitely try for sure. Like, if I can get my hands on one, I would take that opportunity. Okay, let's do another subject question. Hold on a second. All right, we have Antique Rocker says, hey, when I connect my PRS hollow body to Piazzo to my Tone Master amp and a Boss 8010, okay, I get white noise from the twin. Okay, moved the MXR 10 band EQ from the last to before the compressor and 2 ODs in the single chain. Fix the problem. Why? There's a ton of reasons why. Because you have buffered pedals and they could be pushing something into there. Here's the deal. You guys know I'm a Boss pedal fan and I'm a Mesa Boogie guy. And those two things do not mix in my opinion. When I run Boss pedals in front of Mesa Boogies, even when the Boss pedals are off, the Mesas have a continual white noise that you have to either use a noise gate to get rid of, or it's because they're buffered. There's some kind of signal being pushed through there. That's my guess. And somehow moving the stuff around is fixed. It kind of changes that, or what's pushing that amp. I have not experimented enough with the Tone Master series and pedals to know if they are sympathetic to that, but I wouldn't be shocked because I'm sure it's, just amps are set that way. Sounds like you solved the problem. That's good news, but that'll give you some insight. Yeah, and you did the right thing. You moved pedals around and kind of experimented. And sometimes, I hate to say it, you just can't have pedals with certain amps, and that's why you have to have different pedals. And that's also why one of the things that, that you can explain to somebody as a reviewer, right? A very strange thing. Someone who just uses, reviews gear all the time. There's a term musicians use a lot. A lot. Like, that pedal sucked. And that pedal is great. And I only mean this with pedals. You could talk about guitars this way too and stuff and amps, but pedals are specifically. And a lot of times, there's... the pedals react to the amps in such a dramatic way that you can go and say, okay, this pedal sounds great through this amp, but then it sounds horrible through another amp. So what's interesting about that is that exactly what you're experiencing now. There's certain pedals and combinations of pedals that are going to sound great. Some are just going to be unusable, and all kinds of degrees of that. And when you review stuff, you figure it out real fast. You try a couple things. That's why it's not uncommon if to me, when you look at a bunch of reviewers, I always look at this kind of funny thing about reviewers on YouTube, more so than anything else. They all seem to, over time, collect up a bunch of amps and a bunch of guitars. And there's a lot, like, oh, it's because companies send stuff out. It's true. But a lot of times, and I've said this before, it's because you kind of you never know what's coming down the pike, what somebody's going to send you. And you get a pedal and you run it through an amp and it sounds horrible. And then you got to try another amp, because before you make your final assessment and put it out there on the, to the universe and say, this pedal is too bright. Before you do that, go through a couple amps and go, oh, wow, it did really synced up with this amp, or it really sounded good with these two amps, but not this one. And so sometimes, you want to think about that stuff. So that's the whole know your gear, again, philosophy, is kind of moving your stuff around and learning it. And now more so than, or reading it in a manual, you figured it out, moving pedals. So at the core of your question, what I can tell you the best answer, or the best result of this is you've learned a lot, because you obviously knew to adjust and move stuff around, see where the problem was, and then find a sweet spot. And although you're like, hey, that's not the way I want it, that's the way it's going to be until you can try different types of pedals. I would say the problem is going to be the Boss pedals. The Boss pedals, like I said, I love them, but sometimes they have this interaction with amps that creates a white noise. And it's always, in my opinion, it's some amps will do it, or some pedals will do it, I'm sorry. And some pedals will do it, but Boss pedals do it the most, in my experience. Benjamin says, hey, Phil, it's your Thirsty Lion cauliflower buddy. Hey, what's up? What's up, man? If you guys know, he's a patron. He's a great guy. He came to Arizona to see a concert, and he said, I'll be in town. And I said, hey, let's hook up. And we met up at the Thirsty Lion. My wife came, and we had some appetizers and drank some beers, and we had some cauliflower. It's like they make them like cauliflower, like they make them like wings, but it's just cauliflower. And by the way, you did this. You're talking about cauliflower. Trying to think what it is now that me and my wife order like all the time now because we were that night you ordered it. It's Brussels sprouts. I guess I don't even remember this part because I guess it kind of came by so fast because it had more impact on my wife. I guess you ordered Brussels sprouts and my wife was like, Brussels sprouts? Because she's used to like Irish cuisine, which is boil everything. So she's only had boiled Brussels sprouts. And so the ones he got were like roasted. And so anyways, we tried them at every place. So now we tried them so many places. We love them. And so you got us hooked on those. So you think cauliflower, we think Brussels sprouts. Anyways, he says, so he goes, anyways, he says he played guitar and sang in front of strangers on the street for the first time. Went very well. I'm hooked now. Thanks for the inspiration. That's awesome, man. Busking is, man, just playing in front of people isn't it an exciting thing to have that kind of interaction with people and feel that, you know what I mean? Talk about, the only thing that's funny is that when you play in front of people, there's always this fear, and then you do it, and you're like, okay, I don't know why I was afraid, but I always feel like I missed it. Every time I performed in front of people, I always feel like I missed it. I was there, but I'm so focused on, it's my personality, I'm so focused on what I'm doing that when it's over, I go, I know what happened, I just don't remember it. Because it's so fun, and it goes by so fast. That's awesome, man. That's great. I'm glad you're doing that, man. By the way, I also saw you became a member too of the channel. I saw that too. Thank you for that too, as well. Randy says, for whatever you like. I just got, he just did a massive super chat. Thank you. That was huge. He says, I just got a Fender FMT guitar. Oh, okay. So that's the flame top guitar. Last weekend has Seymour Duncan 59 and Pearly Gates in the bridge. Especially love the Pearly Gates. Peace, love. And it says per Sir Ringo. Huh. And anyways, that's great. That's a fantastic guitar. Set neck. He didn't say if it was the Tele or the Strat. They don't make the Strat version anymore. They only make the Tele, so I'm assuming you got the Tele version. I've always loved that idea of the guitar. I wish Fender would expand it on that series. For a little while, they had a quilt top version, then they had a flame top. And then I think on the Strat side, they had like a Babinga top. They were doing some cool stuff, and then they kind of backed off. And it makes no sense because those are usually made, by Cortec or, by World or another factory. So it's something Fender can just contract out and have some cool options for everybody. A little something different. There's something cool about that style of guitar, and then having a Fender logo on it was just extra cool. The Panda says, hey, Phil, do you use the original screws or the clip block ones for installing your clip blocks? I'm lazy. So, no, I'm just kidding. It depends on the guitar. So if the guitar is screws, you know what it has to do with? When I'm taking the screw out of so what he's talking about before I'm talking to him, and I should really fill you guys in. What the Panda is talking about is when you use the DiMarzio clip block straps, they come with a screw, just like locking straps. And so when you take the button out of a guitar and they come with these oversized screws that are a little longer or a little wider and put those in, what I do is, and this is standard whether it's DiMarzio or it's the Dunlop lock that I have right here in my hand. When I take the screw out, if it looks like it's still firm, because you could tell when you're taking them out, they're like barely coming out. You're like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to reuse it and go back in. But if it comes out and I feel like it's a little loose, instead of shimming it or doing anything and sticking anything in there, wood in there or any filler in there, I'll just use a bigger screw that's a little longer, and that works. So it depends is the answer. But you can use either. All I really care about for me is the end result. When I'm done with the button or the hanging, I always want to call it a dongle now because like all the dongle pieces that you get with technology, but the strap end that comes with the clip block strap from DiMarzio, as long as I feel like it's in there and I'm pulling on it and I'm like, okay, that's great. I feel like it's secure. I'm okay. Okay. Okay, let me go back to the main page and see what. Somebody's talking to Zimms guitars. I'm wearing a Zimms guitar t-shirt today. Look at that. Zimms guitars in Mesa, Arizona. Little. This isn't technically a shirt swap. Dane just gave me one. He already bought one of my shirts, and then he gave me a shirt, which is really cool of him. I got to give him a shout out. I was loitering at his store this week, I think twice. Thought I did Saturday. I think it was Saturday, and then I went back on Monday. Feels like that's how it went. I just know I went, and it was Tuesday. You know how I know it was Tuesday is I went and got my teeth cleaned, and my dentist is down the street from Zimms. So, so I go, well, after you've done your, the worst idea ever. After I got my teeth cleaned, I went and got coffee. I'm like, well, I might as well start running them again. And then I went to Zimms and loitered all day for hours. It was way too much loitering. Anyways, so I thought, I saw a shirt in the closet today. I go, I need to wear his shirt. So I'm wearing his shirt today. There you guys go. You can check out his store and his channel down below. And I would say you could check out a couple of the guitars that I traded to him, but he sold them all. Well, I didn't sell them all, but I think he sold most of them. So you'd have to see what he has left of what I took down there. Some of you guys are funny. All right. Some of you guys are loitering at Brian saying loitering at Zimms is a band name. It could be. I think every band name should have the word loiter in it. Okay. Let's go to the next. The next subject question is from the Modern Vintage, who says, do you foresee PRS doing a LTD core runs? So I think it's limited core runs, non-S2 for artist models, or just SC regular production and private stock for custom options going forward. Paul Reed Smith Guitars is pretty consistent. What I've seen them do for many years now, which is whatever the market, whatever they have to do to stay relevant and stay alive in the market. So what I mean by that is PRS is one of those companies for sure that when the market is slow and soft and they need to sell guitars, man, they have no problem going, okay, now we're doing this limited run of this and we're going to give this for free, and they're going to move guitars, okay? And when the market is humming and people are buying guitars like crazy, they're the first ones to go, we're only doing these 3 colors and you got to get in line and good luck to you. You know what I mean? I mean, they adapt very quickly. They're one of the companies that I've seen over the years that adapt very quickly to whatever the trend of the market is. So if you want to see things, and a perfect example of that is this: for years and years and years, pretty much any dealer, that wanted to do a limited run of SE guitars could order, I think, 26 guitars, maybe it was 24 guitars. And if you order 26 guitars, and it was when the market was really soft, I think you had to do 24, but it was 12 and 12. So you could do 2 colors, 12 each color. But then anyways, 24 guitars. And as you guys know, as a PRS fan, just like I'm a Fender fan and a Gibson fan and every other brand I'm a fan of because I'm a guitar freak. During last year, I wanted to do a limited run, 24 Know Your Gear limited run, PRS SE run. And of course, I wanted to do something a little special, which I'm still not going to tell you guys because if it ever happens, it's going to be freaking cool because it's exactly, I'm going to do something that they've never done in the SE line, that we could do something as cool. So the idea was kind of like yesterday's strap video. I did a video about guitar straps yesterday. And so, that video was very simple. Sweetwater contacts the channels that are affiliates with them. And they say, hey, we have some brands we want to promote, anything you see interesting on the list. And then yeah, that's where, like D'Angelico comes from, or I've done. And I try to stick with things I already have, because then it makes it really cool, because I can go, I already have that. When I did my podcast rig, the Personas, I already had that stuff. That's why in that video that Sweetwater sponsored, the rig wasn't sent to me. I already had it, because that makes it easier. I'm like, okay, yeah, you sponsor the video. I already have the rig. To me, there's a continuity there. And how great is it as as someone reviewing a piece of gear to tell the audience, like, this is already what I was using. It wasn't just sent to me and all of a sudden now I like it. Ironically, oh, I just seem to like things that are sent to me for free. It was, no, I already have it and I like it. And so when I saw Levy's straps on the list, I said, oh, absolutely. Because as you guys know, I use Levy's and I use DiMarzio. And what was great about that was, that's not why I did it. I did it because I was like, I feel like, and I've said this before, I want to review a $100 guitar and then I want to review a $3,000 guitar. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I think everybody gets I think people who are interested in $3,000 guitars will watch them. And I think people who are not interested in those will watch them. But also, more importantly, people who are like, I can't afford a $3,000 guitar right now. I can't justify it. I'm not watching Phil's video about it. So I'll put in a video that you want to watch and vice versa. I've done that because I actually interact with you guys so much personally. I talk to you guys so much when I bump into you, when I see you at events, this weekly show. And what I've learned is this. A lot of you, I'll talk to you, and if you're into $300 guitars, you've seen all my $300 guitar videos, but almost none of my $3,000 guitar videos. And vice versa, if you're into $3,000 guitars, you don't know any of my $300 guitar videos. And the reason that's important is that's why I was like, oh, straps. That's something that's cool we can talk about, because now we're talking about, and that was strategic, by the way. None of the straps that I showcased yesterday's video were over $50. That was absolutely on purpose. I wanted no strap to be over $50. I thought 50 was obviously too expensive. I don't want to say too expensive, very expensive for a strap, but I wanted the straps to be, relatively priced accordingly. And the reason I say that is the same with SE run. I want to do an SE run where it's something that they would only do on maybe a private stock or a core model, but we could do a limited run and get some promotion out of it for the SEs. And then that way, players who are not going to spend $3,000 to $5,000, you can spend $700 and get something really cool and different. And the reason I tell you that is because this is exactly a perfect example of what you're asking. Will PRS do this? Well, they wouldn't do the limited run with me because they physically can't meet demand of what they have now. So doing something, even though I'm going to give them free promotion, they're going to get free excitement, marketing dollars, and I'm going to buy the guitars, and then you guys will buy them off me, and therefore, it's not like they have to discount anything. Think of this, it's profit promotion for them. They make money because they would be selling the guitars to me at like dealer cost, which is what they would sell to a dealer. So it's the same profit they would make if they sold to a dealer, and then so they make money and get videos and get promotion. And they're like, no, we can't do it. We have too many guitars. We're behind. So to answer your question, Modern Vintage is, if the market so deems, they will do it. And if the market so deems, they will not do it. That's the answer for them. And that's my best guess, but I bet you it's right. Scott G says, Phil, thanks for all you do. Just finished my second stainless steel refret and bone nut installation on an Epiphone Junior. I bought for my 12-year-old daughter. I couldn't have done it without you. It plays really nice. That's awesome. See, I'm glad you did it. Stainless steel frets are one of those things, like I think I've told you guys this now, I only do stainless steel refrets. When I refret guitars, I only do stainless steels. I hate them. I hate working on them like everybody else for different reasons. I've heard all the reasons why people hate working on stainless steel frets. Never my reason. I don't mind that they wear the files down more. I don't mind that they're more work. I find that I cut myself more. You just kind of you catch an angle or a corner of a fret every once in a while and nick your skin, and you're kind of like, gross. I say, gross, because to me, you got to immediately stop. I'm like, I can't believe bleeding over somebody's guitar. So you go and clean up. So that's the one thing I don't like about them, because they're pretty harsh. They catch you a little bit here and there, where I've never had that problem for all the years. I've never had that problem when I do nickel. However, it's great that you're doing it. I think eventually, will stainless become a standard fret in the industry? I think it will become a 50-50 play. I think more guitars will, at some point, half of them will do stainless, half will not. And slowly it will overtake, but it'll never become 100%. But I think it will keep going in popularity. And it's because, once you do it, you're done. You refret it, and there you go. That's why I do it now. When I'm doing a refret, even on my own guitar, I do stainless steel, because once I do it, I'm done. I don't have to think about it ever again. I don't have to refret my guitar in 10 years. Mike, what does Mike want to talk? He says, incoming new amplifier, just ordered the BE100 Deluxe. That's a real amp, by the way. And the aux box. Yep, we got one of those right there. Is the aux better or just different than the Friat? Okay, so the aux, this is an interesting thing about the aux, and I can give you some insight on the aux because it's been a big discussion. So I have the aux, it's right here, I'm pointing at the aux right now. And then of course I also have the Captor X by 2 Notes. What I like to tell you guys is this. When the aux came out, like I feel like every YouTube channel had one in a minute. Like they must have sent them out to every channel. I don't know this to be true. I don't even know if they sent any to any YouTube channels, but I feel like it was sent out to all the YouTube channels. This happens a lot in the gear community. It happens all the time. As you guys sometimes know, it's me too. I'm in it too. I get like the first thing with everybody else too. But as you guys know, especially if you're a diehard fan, you know 90% of the time I'm not on the first round draft pick of these companies because for whatever reason, that's not how it usually works. It's very rare that I'm on the opening line of a product release, which is fine. Definitely, especially since I like to take so much time with the product, I find I just enrage the companies half the time because they're like, "Is my video done yet?" And I'm like, I'm still figuring out what I like about it. Until I figure out what I like and what I don't like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to be more. I don't know how to make it a process that's just a process. Like it's still got to be an emotional thing for me. So the reason I tell you that, Mike, is this. So I was a little skeptical of the aux, and then I saw everybody had it, and all the bands that I love, right? When you see Miles Kennedy had one, like everybody starts having one. I'm like, wow, they all have one. And so what ended up happening, I don't know how the deal went down with me. I don't know how, I don't remember, but it was something like Sweetwater had asked me if I was interested in doing a video about something. And I remember saying yes. And I remember them going, okay, what do you want or what do you need? In other words, like, do you want us to pay you for this video? Do you want us to give you the free gear? What do you want to this video? And I remember saying to them, and I wish I could remember what piece of gear prompted this, but it was something I did. Maybe it wasn't even a piece of gear. Maybe it was their Gear Fest for last year. Because I remember I did something and I said, okay, I'll love to do that. But I said, here's what I would like. Could you guys send me an aux? Because I really want to try one, but I am scared to death because they're $1,500 and I don't even know if they're any good or if everybody just got one for free and that's why everybody's using one. Because it's not that I think anybody's lying about it. It's just you go off this logic of, like me right now, you're seeing it behind me. Like it's here, right? So you're like, when you go, I bet you could go to 20 YouTube channels right now, prominent channels, and there's an aux in the background, just like mine right there. So you're like, okay, well, obviously, they must be paying them to have it in the background. What I can tell you about this aux is it was not sent to me by aux. It was actually sent to me by Sweetwater, and it came out and Sweetwater, I had no obligation other than what I did secondary to Sweetwater, which was the other video. So there was no obligation. What I wanted to do was check it out. So I checked it out. I did a video on it. And what I can honestly tell you, and this is why I get all this, like the Friat. I like the Friat. I like the Captor X. I've said this for the record, and I'll say it again. I think for half the price, the Captor X is less than half the price. For half the price, the Captor will get you 80% or even better of what the aux is doing. It might even technically sound better, right? So what I found was, as I would use the aux, and then I would use the Captor X. And then like you, I've tried the Friat, and right, try other things, you keep trying things. And I kept going back to the aux. And I was like, I don't understand this because I can't argue to anyone that the aux sounds better than any of these products. I don't know what it is. It doesn't sound better. And there's a couple issues with it that really suck. The way that you have to go through Wi-Fi to update anything on it. The fact that you can't put any of your stuff in it, like your IRs, your cabinets, you have to use their stuff. The fact that it's kind of large, right? Not compared to the Friat, they're about the same size, but compared to the Captor X, the fact that it's, the fact that the power cord is proprietary, so if you take it anywhere, you're like I'd have a constant fear of like, oh my God, if I leave this cable somewhere, I won't be able to power this thing. Where you always have a couple backups of standard cables. But yet I found myself going back to it and going back to it, going back to it. And so I've thought about it long and hard. I've had this thing now for about a year, maybe longer. I've used it on a daily basis. I use it. And same with the Captor X. I use both as often as each other. But what I can tell you about the aux is I don't want to argue if the aux is better than the Friat or if the Friat is better than the aux. What I will tell you is the aux is this is what it is. You don't think about it. And I started watching more musicians using it, and I'm noticing the same thing. It's just you don't think about it. It's not something you tweak. It's not something you're just like, you know, when people argue, because I have argued for this as well, like, oh, this other product has more, you know, options, and this other product has more things. And then at some point it hit me, yeah, sometimes you don't want more. Sometimes you just want to turn it on and it do a good job. And the aux is you turn it on and it does a good job. And when you record with it, it sounds fantastic, to the point where I'm kind of scared to use it in YouTube review videos, because I find that I plug everything into it, sounds fantastic when recording, to the point where I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound like I feel like it's almost like it's, you know, not tricking anyone, but, you know, manipulating a little bit, you know, because everything sounds really good. So to answer your question, I like the Fry-It. I think you'd be happy with the Fry-It as well. But that's why I can't tell you which one to use. What I can tell you is why I have the aux. And for the record, the aux was, like I said, when I say it was sent to me by Sweetwater, it means I can do whatever I want with it. I can just sell it and get $1,200 right now and have $1,200 and buy whatever I want. I decided to keep it. So, but I always tell people for the same reason that I'm telling you the thing. I like it. I use it. I just remind everybody that for half the price, the Captor X will do almost everything it's doing. And it sounds different. It actually sounds clear. The Captor X, to me, to my ears, the Captor X actually sounds clearer and actually makes the amp sound more like it does. It's less colored, and that's great. But the aux, it's like always sounds good. It's just, I don't know. Hopefully that's useful information. Congratulations, by the way. The BE100 is an amazing amplifier. It's huge. I obviously am in love with the Twin Sister. I like the... Actually, there's a question that came in earlier, and I didn't get to it. It's going to tie in, and so I'll tie in right now. I pinned it. I thought I copied it. Hold on a second. I did. It's from 3J Music. 3 J's. This is 3J. Letter J. Music. Hey, Phil. Friedman JJ Jr. or Marshall Studio Classic 20. What's great about a question like this is I've owned both amps. I've reviewed both amps. I got rid of both amps. So let me tell you what I learned from those experiences. I do not regret getting rid of the Marshall Studio Classic 20, which is basically the Marshall JCM 800. It's a good amp. I have now owned all of the Studio Series amplifiers. I have owned the Classic. And you know what? I've screwed that. I'm just going to tell you. I've owned all the Marshall 20 watt amps that they currently make. I've had the DSL 20. I've had the Studio Classic JCM 800, right? I think that's the Studio Classic. Is that the JC? I hate that they use those names. I got to Google right now. Because now I'm like, is that the Plexi version or the 800 version? Okay, so that's the Plexi version. Okay, perfect. Okay. SE Studio Classic. And Studio Vintage. Okay, Classic is the 800 version. All right, want to make sure. I hate that naming structure. Just call them the 800 and the Plexi and just call them the 20 watt versions. But anyways, back to your question. So the Classic is the 800, JCM 800 Mini. I've had that one. I've had the Plexi, which I still have. I think that you can see it right there. To my, I don't know, I think that's my left. I think it's your right. I have, I've had the Silver Jubilee and of course the DSL. I've tried all four. I've owned them I bought all four. And what I can tell you is I got rid of all of them but the Plexi. The JJ Jr. So of the Marshall Classic 20 and the JJ Jr., after getting both, I can tell you I do not miss the Classic 20 in any way. It was a great amp, but it suffers the same problem as this Classic Vintage and the Silver Jubilee. And not the DSL, though. The DSL, I think, is the best one of the, for what the quality and what the features and stuff has. Seems like even though it's half the price of the other one, seems like it's better. And here's why. It does the one thing that the other three don't do, which is sound great quiet. That's the whole thing you want. You want Marshall at bedroom level. And it's the last thing those amps do, in my opinion. When you turn them down to 5 watts, they sound thin to me. They don't sound as big. When you turn them down, they sound fizzy. If you attenuate them and do all that stuff, you might as well just attenuate the 50 watt and 100 watt versions because it's going to do the same thing and they're going to sound fuller anyways. So there's just something about those amps that I don't love. It's not that I hate them by any means. They're great. But their kind of persona is like, hey, we made something for the average player that can have something quality at home or maybe in the studio and then on small gigs. And the reality is, I think it's still a pro level quality product, which is great, but I mean, it's not going to do what you want it to do. The JJ Junior does exactly what you want it to do. If you're going to get this amp, you could take it to a gig. It's totally loud enough. And then of course you can play it in the bedroom late at night. The JJ Junior I sold because I was like, oh, I'm going to get the real amp. And I got the Small Box 50, which is what I have. It's in front of me. You can't see it. It's not behind me. And I love the Small Box 50. It's a great amp. It's probably one of my favorite Friedman amps. Like I said, I love the Twin Sister, but I also like the Small Box. However, if I could go back in time, I would not sell the JJ Junior and I would not buy the Small Box 50. Because as much as I like the Small Box 50, the JJ Junior basically the JJ Junior, all it is a hot rodded runt. It's the same amp as the runt, same clean channel as the runt, same everything as the runt. It's just the runt. It just has more gain. Which is, so basically to me, it does what the runt does and does a little bit more. In fact, at this point, other than the price difference, I don't know why you would pick the runt unless you just don't think you're ever going to need more gain. And you want to save a little money. That's the main thing. So in that equation, I would definitely get the JJ Junior. Normally I go, hey, this is my thought, but I would definitely pick that over those two amps because that's the one I regret getting rid of. It also has a decent clean channel. It's just an all around better amplifier than, in my opinion, the Studio Classic. And I like the Studio Classic. For those that have the Studio Classic right now and are going to be like, what? Phil doesn't know what he's talking about. I love that amp. You can love that amp. I didn't say it's a bad amp. I'm just saying, of those two amps, that's the amp I pick. The only reason to get the Studio Class 20 is to get the JC 100E sound. And, you can, it's not enough. It's just not enough. Richard says, "Its plexi is not a model. It refers to the plexiglass control front panel." Yeah, I understand that. I mean, obviously, I had the 1984X. I understand what you're saying, but you understand what I'm saying too. That's this. We know what we're referring to when we refer to that. So that's what I said. Embrace it. That's what I'm saying. This logic of this is a studio classic and this is a studio vintage. I think it's because they want to say it's a studio series and then it kind of marks that way, but whatever. The good news is they can call it whatever they want. So, Jeff says, when you have a 2061X, you just don't need another Marshall. Well, true. I have a 2061X. It's right there behind me. And I love it. It's a very good amp. Actually, it's a very good amp. And I like it. It's definitely, they stopped making it. So I've owned it. I got rid of it. I got another one. I really like them. I've had moments where I'm like, okay, maybe I'm done with it. And I like it. Here's the thing now. The main reason I have it now is because they stopped making it. So I'm never going to get rid of it because it's not that I think it's going to be valuable. I just know it's not going to go down in price anymore. There's no way. There's no way it goes down. So it's not that if I sell it, I'll make more. It's that if I ever get rid of it and decide to buy it again, I'll be, it's a dumb move. I'll sell it and then I'll have to pay more to get it again. So at this point, I'm not going to do it. But I would tell you, it's funny, after I just said the JJ is better than the Classic, of the Studio Vintage, which is up higher. I'm pointing up to the Studio Vintage right now. I don't know if I think the 2061's much better. It's different. They're different, but I think I prefer the Studio Vintage more. Just a little bit. Which is funny because, the 2061's hand wired and it's all the things you're supposed to love. But again, like I said, some of that stuff doesn't really translate to what you're, everything translates in gear to what you needed to do and what it does for you that you like, not what it is. I always find that's the argument. I can't get on board with that. But it's these things. It's made of this wood and has this component in it. So therefore it's, it's obviously the best. Or this is hand wired. How can you say the hand wired isn't as good as is the wave solder board and stuff. And ultimately, I'm like, I don't care about any of that stuff. The only reason any of that stuff ever, and when I discuss things that are of that nature, it's, if you notice, it's always in the context of cost. In other words, this costs something, so this is the reason for the cost. And I use it as, because it makes sense, right? If something's made by hand, it takes longer than if a machine makes it, or if it's, mass produced. If something is a more expensive wood or material, it's going to be more, obviously more expensive to produce. So I understand that. That's not a justification of its worth to me as a musical instrument. It's just a justification of why I'm gonna have to pay more. So that's what I'm basically getting at. Okay. As we jump around, we have PW says, no question to ask. Okay. Let's see. Wasn't here last week. First tube amp, Sir Curso 5 watt. Little used, sub $700, built-in attenuator. So you're asking me if that's good? Wasn't here last week. New amp day. Oh, so he goes, okay, so he said he just had a new amp day. He got the Sir Curso 5 watt. If it's the amp I'm thinking of, and I'm going to look at it right now, I think it's the amp. I almost bought that amp when Pete Thorne first reviewed it back in the day. Yep, it's exactly what I was thinking of. I'm going to share it with you guys. Here you go. Here you go. So this is the Curso. This amp, I remember the video like it was today. It was Pete Thorne when he reviewed this. I was like, I got to have that. I'm like, a Sir amp. So I'm glad you got it. It's really cool. It's a beautiful looking amp. I love that they did the bent piece of I think it's probably birch. It's multiply birch, but who knows? But the plywood there, it's just really good. I don't know. I don't know if it sounds any good. I don't know much about it. Obviously, Pete Thorne demoed it, which means it sounded good because Pete Thorne sounds good. But congratulations. It's a good amp. Like I said, it's something that was on my radar for many years. Michael says, just wanted to say that you're awesome for sending that dude those pickups. Thanks, man. That's, I think awesome's probably too kind of a word to use, but it's, again, I've been dealing with this for a few months now. This, hey, I like to do giveaways, and I try to do them on the pretty much on the regular. And like I said, we talked about it. Every channel's talked about this. When you have the fraud stuff going on there, and it seems like it's backed off a lot, and it seems like YouTube's even curtailed it a lot. I'm not seeing it. It's almost like it got stamped out pretty hard recently. And I think we'll go back to the stronger giveaways soon. I've always done giveaways third party. In other words, I've never said put a comment down below and I'll tell you which one you won. I've always used King Sumo, or our third party website. In other words, it's a website that you click a link and it takes you out of YouTube. You fill out the information there, and then it randomizely picks you, and then I email you directly through your email address that you provided to that. That's how I've always done it. When I say always, I mean maybe back when, I was still with my cell phone making a video, for 10 of you. It wasn't like that, but I've done it that way. And I feel pretty confident in that method. I've never had a problem. But even now, I just don't want anybody to say, I know you're doing a contest, and then somebody contact me saying it was you. So during the show, I feel like we're pretty safe if we do it in real time. It's done. Everybody knows now that the winner was already picked. And so that's why I wanted to do it. Like I said, one of the things I want to do is do a couple giveaways with the pickups, but I also want to do it with somebody who could use them. And so when somebody says, hey, I could use a set of pickups, maybe that's the right person to get them to. Michael says, I just read your comment. I'm sorry, man. Jeff says, looking for an acoustic guitar. What I want is a small and thin in thickness, so something small that can be strummed or finger picked. And I'm looking at the Yamaha FS 800, 820, or 830. Any suggestions? I'm a huge Yamaha fan, even though some people say I can't say Yamaha. I'm sure, here's what's sad. I'm sure it's Yamaha. I'm not even sure. I think that's what you guys are trying to say. What I will tell you is this. Everyone in my family and my friends call it Yamaha. And that's just how we were raised saying it. When I did a video for the first time about Yamaha, somebody's like, Yamaha, like yam? They're like, that's not how you say it. So It's funny, like I said, it's where you're raised and how you pronounce things. So, anyways, Yamaha. I like Yamaha acoustic guitars. I don't think you could go wrong with any one of those. Obviously, the 800, 820, or 830. It's up to you. Just if you want something a little nicer, something more basic. Here's what I would say: if you think you want the more expensive one, and you think that's going to make you happy, and you know what I mean, that might prevent you from getting upgrading later. When it comes to buying a guitars, let's just take this out of the equation. Let's put it back into just the basics of whenever you're buying a musical instrument, period. Whether it's a guitar, it's an amplifier, whatever it is. And there's levels, okay? And that's what's important. That's what we're really talking about, right? We're talking about, do you buy the base model, the mid model, or the deluxe model? And what I've always used for me personally is this. You only buy the deluxe model. I'm trying to see if I'm saying this right. If you think basically, I'm going to say it backwards. I apologize. You don't buy the base model if you think there's any chance that you might ever want to upgrade later. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I'll say it one more time just to make sure I'm clear. When I look at something like a model, like, okay, there's a good, better, best. If I think about it like, okay, if I buy the base model or the mid model, it doesn't matter. And I go, is there any chance that I get this? Any, and a year, 10 years, 5 weeks, 6 minutes that I want the more deluxe model ever, then I go deluxe. And the reason is because the only thing that comes with the deluxe is some buyer's remorse. I shouldn't have spent the extra money. I didn't need to, right? When you buy another more expensive model, the regret is just out of your pocketbook. And that regret goes by pretty fast. The buyer's remorse of how much money you spent, that is not a lasting remorse. Now, I say that cocky like I don't get it all the time. All the time. Last weekend, I was in buyer's remorse mood. Happens to me all the time. I buy something that I want, and as soon as it comes out of my account, I'm like, oh, the remorse of, did I make the right purchase? Is that, what did I do with my money? But what I've learned, even though it's tough, and that's why I'm reminding you, because it's nice to remind myself too, is that's the remorse you'll get over the fastest. Is the remorse you won't get over is that feeling of like, okay, now I want to upgrade and I'm stuck in this one. So buy the best one if you think you ever will. Travis just did a super chat to say thanks for answering both of his questions. Thank you for coming early, man. I appreciate that. Jared says, I bought a DiMarzio PAF. Just funny this week. I was just giving somebody a hard time about that. Okay, PAF for my 7-string 96 Jackson. And when we're replacing the Duncan design bridge, I love it. Thank you for. Oh, okay. So he replaced the Duncan design, and put the DiMarzio PAF. Oh, okay. So this is a follow-up question to when they asked for some advice. I love that pickup. It's definitely, I think, obviously to me, especially in the 7-string world, I think it's one of the best pickups ever when it comes to 7-string guitars. I think one day in the 7-string world, if there's such a thing, that pickup will be like the equivalent of the Seth Lover pickup for 6-string guitars, because it was really one of the first really, really good sounding 7-string pickups. And so I'm glad you like it. I think it's a great pickup. I think it does everything that you want it to do for every genre of music. Like I said, even Korn uses it because it's a great pickup. Okay, Grumpy Mike Guitar said, for the tone jar, and why not? Just wanted to wish you and the lovely Mrs. McKnight a happy weekend. Cheers. Thank you. I appreciate that. I had a bad idea yesterday, and she did not question my idea. So what happened was, a couple weeks ago, I convinced her that we need to buy e-bikes. So we bought some. Absolutely love them, by the way. They'll be on my second channel soon, discussing them and why I bought them and what I've learned. I know it's not guitar stuff, and I know it's silly, but it's my second channel. So I'm just going to put it on there. And so anyways, we've been riding these e-bikes. For those that don't know, it's electric bikes, and it's just, they're basically electric assisted, right? So it's just like riding a regular bicycle, except for there's a ton of ways you can do it. It has a throttle, has all this stuff, but the way we use it is you can basically do a 1 times or 2 times your power. So in other words, if I'm pedaling at 5 miles an hour, it's going 10, which is really cool because you're pedaling, you're getting exercise, and you're going fast, but you're going faster than you deserve to go, which is cool. So, because it feels like something. It feels like, it's like, it's like somebody telling you the weight set is double the weights and you're lifting it and you're like, I had no idea I contained such power. You're like, man, I'm 10 years younger all of a sudden on this bicycle. Anyways, yesterday I convinced her that we should go in the middle of the day. There's this smoothie joint, I'm going to say, and it's not smoothies, I'll get in trouble. It's a green juice bar, something that she likes to eat healthy stuff all the time. So she likes this green juice bar. I get this green juice with like coffee in it, which is like, I found the most unhealthy thing in that place and decided that's what I can have. So, and she likes it because even though I think it's the most unhealthy thing in there, it's probably 10 times healthier than anything else I would choose on my own. Anyways, I convinced her we should ride these bikes there because it's only 25 minutes there and then 25 minutes back. It was like 103 and like 80% humidity. It was so hot. So we came back. It was so bad. We had a blast, but so when you said Mike, it was almost like Grumpy Mike Guitar knew what happened when he said, I hope you have a happy weekend. I hope we do too. She was great, but when we got back, you could just tell, like, you could just see, she was so nice to me, but you could see it in her face, like, why do I listen to this idiot? And I was like, they're e-bikes. It'll be like it'll be easy. What I didn't think about was, they pedal assist you, but you're still sitting in the roasting sun for 30 minutes on the side of the road of traffic. It was pretty hot. I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty bad. Okay. All right. Miserable Turd. Thank you, man, for doing a super chat. Atin says, hey Phil, is there anyone who does make a Jaguar style humbucker? I don't know. I'm assuming somebody does. I've seen Dylan Talks Tone do oddball pickups and try them. I'm sure other builders do. It's not something I've ever looked for, so I don't know. I have a pretty crazy collection of guitar pickups, which is a pretty unique thing to say. I've found very few people that collect guitar pickups like me. And, to be honest, I don't own a Jaguar, so I have no collection of Jaguar pickups. So sadly enough, I don't know for your answer. But what's great is we talked about it, and hopefully somebody in the crowd watching might have a suggestion for you. And so if you guys do, please put it in the comments for him. There's over 1,000 of you, so if you guys could just say what you know, or where you think where he should go next, or where they should go next for the lead, that'd be great. And also, I also should point out, I don't even know that they would be different than a regular humbucker. I'm just not familiar with that. You're saying Jaguar style humbucker. Let me put it this way. I don't think I've ever worked on anything other than an oddball Jaguar that maybe had humbuckers once in here, but they were always like standard humbuckers. So I don't know if it's a special size. I didn't think so. I'm kind of thinking about it now, thinking maybe it's not even a special size. Let's see what you guys are talking about. Maybe somebody's chiming in with some information too. And they're talking about solar panels. So I don't know that they're differently shaped than a normal humbucker, is basically what I'm getting at. So they might be just a standard humbucker. What I would suggest, since I don't want to leave you kind of hanging and then you're like, okay, you're no better off than when you started with this question. What I would do is measure the pickup out. There's only things you need to know is these three things. You need to know how wide the pickup is, how long it is. So, right? So the width of it from string to string, from side to side, from top to bottom, and that'll tell you if it's if it's a standard sized humbucker. And then also you need to measure the distance between the two screws that are holding the humbucker in, or if there's 3 screws, just to make sure those are standard. And that will tell you if a standard humbucker fits inside of it. And once that happens, once it's standard, you can put anything in it. I don't know if they're using the larger size pickup. And if they are, then you have to get something special. But otherwise, you should be able to use a regular humbucker. And again, that's one of the downfalls of, I'm not looking at it. You know, that's like I said, we're talking about some stuff, adding some features where maybe you guys can send me, when you guys send these questions, send a picture too. I wish YouTube would enable that kind of stuff, but we can probably find a workaround too. Because it's really great if I had some photos and I could share with the audience and you. I think that would be more exciting when we do these kind of things. So we're going to work on that. Or we're already working on it. We're going to continue to work on it. Okay. Drano, phonetically is how it sounds, says torn between the Waza TAE and the Aux Thoughts. I talked to the guys at Boss, and we talked about them sending out the Waza, and that was at GearFest, and I never heard anything from them. This is where sometimes I fail at this because I don't follow up with them. You know, kind of like I always look at it like when somebody says, okay, yeah, we could get that stuff out to you. I figure they're going to follow up with me. I get a little sidetracked because I got other stuff to do. I'm sure they got other stuff to do. Maybe I can try and reach out to them about having them send it out. I would love to do a comparison of the Waza and the Aux. When I was talking to them, they were kind of going over all the things about the Waza. There are features about the Waza I like, and there's some features that I do not like. And and when I say features, exactly that. I'm not saying from experience, I'm not having trouble, just reading the features. I'm like, oh, I don't like that idea, or I like this idea. I like a lot of things too, but ultimately, to me, it doesn't matter what the features are. It matters how they sound and how I work with them. So I'd love to get it and work with it. Drano, what I'll do is I'll use this as a perfect example to follow up with them next week and see if we can get something out. I know we talked about them sending out like 2 pieces of gear to check out when I saw them at GearFest. So we'll see. My GearFest, I talked to companies at GearFest, and to be honest with you, all the companies, I think that's why I didn't follow up with them, because I only had Pigtronics, which is Supro Pigtronics, follow up with me after GearFest. Every other company that said, hey, we need to get some stuff on your channel, I never heard anything. And so sometimes I'm just like, I don't know if that's just how this business works. That's how I feel. So, I always feel like I talk to every company I talk to is always like, wow, we got to get some stuff on your channel. And then I never hear from them again. And I used to think that was like some, oh, what did I do? And now I realize like, it's just like, I guess how industries are, they're like, when you're there, they're excited for a moment and then they forget about you. So I have to follow up is what I'm trying to say. Adrian says, happy Friday, Phil. Just got a Musicman sub bass. It's killer. Do you like Musicman basses? I absolutely love Musicman basses. Absolutely. Obviously, I'm a Flea fan. He uses a Musicman, or he did forever. And before he went to Fender, well, he went to Modulus and then he went to Fender, and love their basses. I don't actually have one, but it's because, like I said, I just have the 3 basses that I play all the time, and I think about if I was going to add a bass, it would be a Musicman bass. I tried to get one of the Sterling short scale Musicman basses. I went and checked out a couple, but they were set up and they were just horrible. And although the price is so good, it was just really exhausting in the store, like picking them up going, I don't know if I want to do fret work and do everything. Like I said, I already got to do that for videos. Now I got to do it for my own personal stuff. And then I was like, well, I'll make a video out of it. But I'm like, how many people are going to be interested in this $300, $400, sub Musicman instrument? But I'm happy for you, and like I said, I love this stuff, especially the sub stuff. The sub stuff is some of my favorite stuff because I think it was the best priced quality, like meets price stuff I've seen them do. Michael says, just got an LX Lifeson Epi Access. Do I need to buy an acoustic amp to use the Piazzo system? I'm a little confused. No signal on my standard amp through that particular jack. I am not sure on that model how they have it wired up. So you're going to have... when it comes to using a transducer pickup and magnetics, which is your humbucker and your acoustics, or your electric guitar pickups and your acoustic, there's a couple ways they can do this. They can use a stereo jack and split the signal out, and you can use it to 2 amps. They can mix it, or they can have 2 outputs, and the 2 outputs are usually like dedicated. One output is dedicated, like it'll be dedicated just electric guitar, and the other one will be a mix of acoustic and electric, and then of course you can send them out to each one. I do not know what is on there. Let's do this since we're here and we have, and this is our time, as the Goonies would say. This is our time. So I'm going to look at it and see if I can look at a picture of the output jack. That would tell me a lot. It's got a lot of stuff. Okay. Yes. Okay. So what I see, I'm going to share with you guys too. So what I'm seeing here, for those of you listening, what I'm seeing is, you can see it barely. There we go. Here we go. You can see two outputs. My guess is the first one is probably electric only, and the second one is acoustic and electric mixed, and you can switch between them. But I'm going to look at the switches. And what I'm not seeing is switches. So it might be, because again, I've never tried this guitar, so I don't know. But usually on those systems, it might be that the first one is electric and the second one is acoustic. What I would suggest to you, do you have to have an acoustic amp? I would recommend an acoustic amp because it's not going to sound great through an electric guitar amp. That's for sure. It will sound okay. You may need two amplifiers for sure, or a PA system. You may have something that have to go through that. And again, I've never played the guitar. So I know some of the viewers here have that guitar, so they might be able to kind of dial you in even more so. But if you have like a Fender amp that has two inputs, you can use the two inputs. But I would make sure that, because you're going to usually have a hot output and then something that's like a negative 10 dB or something like that. Always put the acoustic into the hotter output so it's more evened out, and try it that way. And then Michael says, one is a mix unless you plug in two. Okay, so that would make sense to me. Right. So like I said, you should be able to do it, but also you got to make sure that they have the cable that comes with it. If they have a stereo to two mono cables that came with it, might be how they do it. And also make sure the battery is working. It's not likely on a system like that, if the battery's dead, the acoustic would not be working, electric would, because most likely everything's running through that preamps. You know, they have like a preamp board in there. Everything's probably running through that, so if the battery goes dead, it's all going dead. So, but I would definitely run the acoustic side into something else. You know, and then nowadays, what's great is you can buy an acoustic amp for $100. I mean, you can find them out there. They're pretty cheap. That would be my suggestion. Andrew said, no question, just thank you from Ireland for all the great content. Man, thank you. I appreciate that so much. Haas3016 says, I always love running into Phil at Zimms. Yeah, it's cool. Like I said, if you were there recently, I was there. That's the most I've been there in a while. It's the most I've been anywhere not working. In fact, I told Zimms when I was there, I was specifically just trying not to get some. I was just kind of Zoom called out. It's just too many Zoom calls in a row. Lidfay says, let's do an experiment. Everybody email Universal Audio that Phil said he wants to try the Ruby pedal, and it's his birthday. You'll probably get a review. I would not suggest you guys do that. I used to tell you guys, like, hey, if you guys want companies, remember I used to do that. Hey, if you want companies, what I've learned is that actually seems to piss them off. Isn't it funny? I thought, oh, you know, hey, if there's a piece of gear you'd like to see on the channel. Remember I even did the ambassador deal. I told you guys, I said, hey, if there's a product you'd like to see on this channel, I said I empower you to contact them and say, hey, I like this channel. I'd like to see your product on this channel. If you agree to send it, I'm not going to charge, and he doesn't want the gear for free, and I'll do, and that's like me giving you back. Hey, if you really want this to happen, I'll do all the work. And I saw no results of that. In other words, I know a bunch of you did it, and I never really saw any company reach out and say, man, your viewers are pretty cool, and wow, it's a lot of excitement about our product. What I did get, however, is I did get a company who contacted somebody I know, that's how I know this happened, and say, do you know who this McKnight guy is? And they're like, yeah, he's a cool dude. And he's like, I got like people telling me that I need to put my products on his channel. And he's like, well, he's got a good channel. And ironically, I did one of his products and it got 1 million views. And then I did another one of his products and it's got like 300,000 views. And then I think I did another one of his products and it's got like 300,000 views. So it's one of the bigger hitting videos. So, so I thought, oh, okay. And then he's like, yeah, I really don't like that they're like doing that. So if anything, I think if I ever had a shot getting that company to send something out on the channel, I think we ruined it. I don't know. I always tell you guys, I don't know. I thought that was a great call to action, because again, but here's what I can tell you. Like Litvey saying, I appreciate you doing that with UA. What I've learned about UA is I love UA stuff. Obviously, I got the aux, I got their interface, I got a lot of stuff. I got a lot of good things to say about them. If they've never sent anything to the channel. If they want to, they can. If they don't want to, they don't have to. And if you guys want it, we'll just buy it and put it on the channel. That's really what I've learned. If it's worth it, if you guys really want it, we'll put it on the channel somehow. Or through these arrangements through Sweetwater, which is one of the reasons why I have cultivated that arrangement with Sweetwater, is that even though Sweetwater gets a plug every time I do something, it's not a piece of gear that is just a company trying to promote their gear. We picked it. And I say we because I picked it, but it's based on these conversations weekly that we have with you. Think about this. There's a lot of the products that I review on this channel are discussed here. Outsiders don't know this, but you guys know this. A large percentage of the products that you see those videos that I do reviews of, you can go back in the history of this channel and see in the timestamped, everything's timestamped, in the timestamps, it was brought up by you guys to me, and then therefore it was on my radar, and then therefore it made it on the channel. So I like the way that works. Like I said, it's a channel. I've accumulated enough subscribers and views at this point that if a company wants to put their product on the channel and it benefits them to get some advertising, it benefits us to talk about the piece of gear, that works out great. But the other stuff, but when it comes to something we want to talk about, if you guys bring it up, it'll get on here. So Lee says Lee says loves the PRS Vela, okay, but I'd like a thinner neck. Is it possible to thin the neck profile, sand it down? It's a satin finish. Not worried about the finish. Yeah, I mean, of course you can sand it down. Here, your only worry is obviously keep sanding it. You'll make it too thin, and the truss rod could crack the neck. But you would have to sand it down a lot. I mean, a lot, more than an 1/8 inch, and you wouldn't sand it down that much. So yeah, if you want to sand your neck down, if you're not worried about resale value or whatever, usually that's the issue. Do it. It worked for every guitar player ever in history back in the 70s. If you think about this, all the rock stars, all of them are notoriously known for sanding their necks to the perfect carve. Because remember, that's where a lot of the neck carves come from now. Is that these guys just sanded their own necks, and then a company would go, "We want to make your own signature model," and they're like, "Copy my neck," right? And there you go. So yeah, you can do that as well. Thank you, James, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Jared says, Phil, does a refinish on an import guitar affect the value? Of course, a refinish on anything affects the value. Never in a positive way. It's very rare unless you have somebody who's well known to do it. And it's because of the fact that, it's just a bad word, refinish. It's just, it never has a value to it. I had obviously my Charvel DK24, which is not a very expensive guitar. Well, I mean, it's not cheap. It's $1,000. I mean, you understand. But I mean, it's like not like an old Gibson or something, an old vintage guitar. So it's refinished, and it's refinished by a professional person with paint huffer, and it's got a story and all the and I can make a video about it and all that stuff. And it still probably wouldn't get much more now than what it was worth without that stuff. And it might even not do as well. So the point is no. But remember, the resale value is only one factor to consider when doing something. You know what I mean? Not everything is about resale value. It's just important as someone recommending things. I mention it. I always have this discussion with friends after shows like this. It always becomes a personal discussion. Like they'd seen part of the show or listened to it on the podcast, and they'll go, "Oh, I saw what you said on this guy, but hey Phil, do you ever think about, you could just say this?" And my point to that is always the same thing. I have to tell you guys, or I feel obligated to tell you guys, whenever you're going to do something with your money that's negative, to mention that that's a possibility, but not to the point where I want you to not do things. If you want to sand the neck on your guitar, do it. If you want to refinish your guitar, I know those are two different questions, but you understand how they tie in, do it. If you're not worried about the resale value, do it. And I don't even know if you are resale value, but me suggesting that it's okay to do it, I need to say, yeah, it affects the resale value, because it does. But a lot of things can affect the resale value. Think about this. Upgrading your guitar, as I've showed you guys in the Sharp Max videos, which was the whole point of those videos. Sharp Max was not about me going, hey, I'm going to trick out guitars. That's somehow some people see it that way. It was about, hey, I'm going to show you how you can mod a guitar without doing anything to permanently, change it. And you could put it all back to stock if you want when you sell it, because you're not going to get anything for the upgrade you did. The upgrades are the worst expense ever. I've said this many times, so many times that it hurts. My wife doesn't care what I do, what I spend. No exaggeration. She could care less to any extent what I do and what I spend, except for one thing. She hates it when I'm modding guitars, because she knows that's where you lose your ass. Right? She just knows. Because you know why? She's a person who's worked in this industry, and she's bought and sold enough guitars and traded enough guitars with customers to know that what it's like when she watches somebody going, yeah, I put $700 worth of parts in this, and it's like, it's worth nothing, has no value to me. And that's pretty much how it works. So to answer your question, if you refin a guitar, does it hurt the value? It's going to hurt the value, of course. And so you just either decide that matters to you or it doesn't. That's it. And then work around it. Richard says, hey, do your dogs like to listen to you practice? Nope. Yeah. No. 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 My daughter just got a cat, and the cat runs when I play. That's a new experience for me. The dogs don't run out of the room, at least. But no one, unfortunately in my house, no one wants to hear me practice, and everybody has to, because I'm not very quiet. I'm not super loud, but I mean, you can't ignore it. I'm not practicing at a very low volume. It's one of the benefits I get, is that I get to practice at any volume I want. And it's loud. And they all, and to illustrate this point, now that my daughter drives, she has her own job, and she goes to school and she drives, they leave. My wife will leave, my daughter will leave. I will practice, and then I will come out of my office from practicing, and the house is empty, and they all just left. And then when they come back, I go, where'd you guys go? And they go, you were just playing, so we just went to the store. Or we were playing, so we went and got our nails done, or whatever. They just leave. They just go somewhere. So now that everybody can leave, what I've learned is, I basically what I'm trying to tell you is, Richard, if the dog could drive, they would leave. Because that's what I'm learning. They all leave when you play. Angst Wolf, thank you for the super chat. Waterford Giant says a friend has an original Maestro fuzz tone that needs some work. It has an awesome pedigree, and he wants it lovingly repaired. Do you have anyone you would recommend to repair locally, Phoenix, or anywhere in the U.S.? I do not. You know, the sad thing is almost everybody, well, not almost, everyone I know who I trust to repair things have decided at some point to start their own business, and now they build things. All of them. The 3 people I trust the most in the Phoenix area that I would recommend to you, now all would tell you they don't have time because they're building their own products. That's one of the problems right now. So I don't have anyone I can totally suggest. I just don't know. And anybody I would suggest to you would be just because somebody said something to me like they like this person, but I have no personal experience of it. So there you go. Sadly enough, and I just can't do it just because I know somebody. I got to actually have experience with them. So I'm sorry about that. Trucker Cowboy Ed. Wow, that's a cool name. Why am I yelling so much? Trucker Cowboy Ed says, hold on. I have drank a whole cup of water now. Says, I bought a Korea Telly copy. It is a gorgeous finish for $150. I am thinking of making it a project guitar what would you recommend to start with? Well, I don't know. I would say, I think the goal of the question is like, what parts would I start recommend? What I would do is, and again, because I don't know what you've done, but here's what I would suggest. I would go ahead and go through the tuning keys, the nut, the bridge, the pickups, the electronics, and the wiring for those electronics, and figure out what of it is good and what of it has to go. And I think the guilty trap is like everything has got to go. It's all bad. But you never know. Something might be good. So assess what everything is and then figure out what is of it is good that you like. Like the tuning keys feel good, so let's leave those alone. Or no, I don't like them, so we're going to go to locker. The nut is junk, so we're going to put a new nut in. That's what I would do. Just go through and figure out what it is that is not up to par and then replace that first. And that's the way I would go. That's how I do everything. It's just, I'm looking for a problem to fix. Remember the saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I don't just go, oh, it's a cheap, because remember some parts, no matter how nice the guitar is, they don't get much better. So same thing, right? So some parts might not be worth replacing. So like the bridge, I find a lot of times, especially on a Tele, I don't care how cheap the bridge is usually fine. Either aesthetically it doesn't look right, or maybe there's a different material you can use that gives you a better tone, something like that. But I mean, essentially, I leave that stuff alone and go right for the things that help the guitar stay in tune, unless, of course, there's an intonation issue from the bridge, but usually not. So there you go. I would start there. Like I said, go through each area, and then another thing I like to remind you guys about is there's another option out there that's really cool. Besides going out there one by one, buying all these components retail, go out there and look for used components. Go out there look for another guitar. I love, one of the things I used to do it all the time. I don't do it anymore. I just don't have the time, but it was always a fun thing to do. Was everybody was talking about kit guitars or modding up guitars. One of the things I used to love to do was buy a guitar that I found that I liked. Like you got, okay, I like the good bones, so to speak, right? I love the body, I love the neck, and I love the way this guitar feels. So this is what I like. And then go out, you can find one, Craigslist, you go out there and go to local stores, go to pawn shops, go to, mom and pops, look around, Facebook Marketplace, whatever, and find a guitar that find that person what we talked about earlier, who did all these upgrades to it and now is going to lose their ass in it, right? In other words, it's a weird guitar, because you're always looking for that person who modded up a weird guitar. Like they modded up this off brand. Oh, like find a Harley Benton telecopy that somebody's dumped new pickups and new parts into, and then buy that dirt cheap. And here's what you do: swap the parts over. So you put your parts on that guitar and you put it's up. So now your guitar's upgraded, and then you sell the Harley Benton off cheap, and you'll come out way ahead. So don't forget, there's other ways to get parts besides retail. There's buying and cannibalizing other guitars. And what's nice about that is sometimes, like I said, you can do part swaps and take that old, the old guitar and with your less quality parts on it, it still has some value, and you sell it off. And when you get that money back from selling it, when you do the math, man, you come out way ahead in what you would have spent if you would have went piece by piece. Tony G says $10 for the air conditioning bubble bike e-bike helmet fund. Yeah, you know what? It was good. I've been riding this. I don't regret going out in the heat. I just it was a little hot. It was a little much. The middle of the day was dumb, and there was going to be a storm in the afternoon. So I was like, well, let's not do the storm. Now, 103 is not that bad, believe it or not, but it was just relentless with that humidity. It was nice. All right, Raphael says, hey, Phil, any Strat that has no arm carve? I mean, there is. I don't recall like a Fender making a Strat without an arm carve. There's got to be some version out there that's like a hybrid Tele Strat body. If it's something you really feel like you need, you could always order one from Warmoth. You can order a Strat without an arm carve body from Warmoth. That's not a problem at all. I can tell you're not in the United States because I see the exchange. It's Z. I don't even know what that is. Like a Z and then like a T8, whatever the currency. So I know it's not U.S. currency. So I know it becomes problematic because I know shipping stuff from the U.S. to wherever is always tricky. But you can find, or you can check out Guitar Fetish. I think they've been really promoting that they got a lot of parts, and they might have a strap body without an arm carve, and that's a good way to start there if that's something you want, especially since what you're asking for is usually very uncommon. Usually everybody wants an arm carve. I mean, more people are looking for a telly with an arm carve now than a Strat without one, but that's just a good place to start. Mark says, best way to determine the value of a Martin guitar. I bought stamped custom, not custom shop. Not sure it was well bought. Well, you can always call the manufacturer. You can call Martin and get a clarification on what it is that it's even stamped. Most manufacturers have a customer service department, and if you call them with a serial number and some information on the guitar, they can tell you exactly what it is for the most part, especially companies like Martin where they haven't changed hands 10 times, in other words, through buyouts. A lot of times that's the downfall of Fender and other companies. You can call them, they can help you, but then sometimes they go, oh, that was 84. It's not us. We weren't Fender then. Yeah, and then they can't help you. But something like that. And then that starts helping you figure out what it was in the beginning and why it was stamped custom and not custom shop. So that helps if that's a thing. And anytime you're dealing with a main like a main brand product, whether it's Martin or Taylor or Guild or Gibson or Fender, there's tons of forums where there's just tons of people who are like I said, I would consider myself a generalized expert. In other words, I really know guitar industry, guitar amps. I know everything a little, so I can help you out with a lot of stuff. But some people are hyper focused on a subject. There's people that are really into just Fender, are really into just Martin, and so there's gonna be a guy out there that as soon as you post it, they're gonna be like, oh, I got 3 of them and I collect them, and let me tell you why, or whatever it is. There's always somebody who knows exactly what that is. And I like that more than the old school way, which is like the old school way is like, well, go find a Martin dealer and go talk to them. But stores get a little tricky because stores don't have the trained staff they used to have, so it gets a little trickier now. And also, once money's involved, if it's you don't want somebody telling you something because they have an angle too. So if you're on a forum, you're just looking for somebody who's an enthusiast that can have information. That's what I would suggest. Those 2 places. James said, so would you let a neck pocket finish crack prevent you from keeping an expensive guitar $2K plus? Does it usually cause issues? How bad is it is the resale? I just had this issue. Not a neck pocket crack. Oh, I'm trying to not cough and talk at the same time. So you guys know I just bought a Nags. I bought it used. It was in the background of the strap video, if you guys didn't see it. And I put it on Instagram. It's a beautiful guitar. And I feel I paid top dollar. Okay. Like I don't think there was a deal on that guitar. Like I couldn't imagine that guitar being any more for a used guitar than what I paid for it. It's a beautiful guitar. I'm really happy with it. It plays great. I bought it from the Music Zoo. I talked to the Music Zoo as I always tell you guys. I did my own advice. I reached out and said, "Hey, I'm interested in this guitar. It's beautiful. This is my budget," which is what I told them what I want to spend. Which, by the way, my budget was ironically exactly what I think that the actual value of the worth of that guitar was. And they came back and they were very kind and they said, "It's a consignment piece. We can't negotiate the deal." Now, that's not true. They gave me a deal. They took $100 off. But that's what they meant, though. They can't do more than that. That's the most they can do. So I got $100 off, which is good. Something. Okay. Made me pull the trigger, which is really all I was looking for. So help me make a bad decision and buy this thing I don't need. So I bought the guitar. Now, here's why this ties into what you're saying. On the guitar, where the neck is painted, where they taped off the fretboard, there's a mistake. It's very small, but it's there. And I know, because I already talked to them, that it's a consignment piece, that if I was to reach out to the Music Zoo and say, "Hey, I got the guitar. It's got a blemish." And when I say blemish, it's not a damage. It's a factory defect, manufacturer defect. And of course, manufacturer is a really wrong term when it comes to Nags. They're a small shop. There's an imperfection in this guitar. This is what you're talking about. Yours is a little different because yours is like actual crack damage. But this is why I'm telling you this, because just listen to me. So it doesn't bother me. Okay. Kind of like what you're saying. It doesn't bother you. Okay. It's not what you want, but everything about the guitar I love. I love the way it plays. I love the way it sounds. I love the way it looks. I love everything about this guitar. The only thing that I think about is if I go to resell this, I would definitely have to take a picture of that and definitely disclose it. And somebody's going to definitely want a discount. So I have two choices. I can keep the guitar, suck it up and just go with it, or I can return the guitar. That's my only choices. There is no discount. And because they don't have the power because it's a consignment piece. They're just going to be like, it is what it is. So I can return it. And the only reason I'd want to return it is because I will take a bigger hit when I go to resell it. So the reason I tell you that, James, is that I have 72 hours to return it. I think that is expired. Or maybe today was the 72 hours. 72 hours to return it. I have not contacted them, not returning it, because what I did was I said, I am going to commit that I am going to keep it for at least 3 years. I might keep it forever, but I've told myself, like, I'm going to commit to 3 years because I really like it. I really wanted it. It's what I want. And if I return it, who knows? I might even find something worse. And so I've decided that, knowing quite well that when I go to sell it, somebody's going to jam me up for at least $500, at least $500 less than what I paid is what I will sell it for. Because I think that's, honest to God, I think that's where it really lands as someone who's bought and sold a gazillion guitars. And that's where I'm at. So what's my advice to you? My only advice is what I did on my own merit, which is I would say it's going to have a resale issue. Somebody's going to jam you up for it because it has a hairline crack. Is it going to be something so bad that's going to damage the guitar? Well, you didn't say what kind of guitar, so I don't know what kind of finish. Different finishes react to the crack differently. The crack can continue. The crack can get worse. It can stay the same. It can be fixed. So, a crack can be fixed. Like, think about this. The issue I have can't even be fixed. They'd have to take the finish off and redo it. I mean, it's otherwise, trust me, if it could be fixed, the factory would have done it, or the manufacturer, Nags would have done it. They couldn't do it. That's why they shipped it out that way. Because I'm sure they were like, this is it. It's sad because the guitar is executed perfectly in every way except for that one spot. And if it was on the treble side of the neck, in other words, facing towards the floor, no one probably ever noticed it, but because it's facing up at you, you can kind of see it. So, in your case, I'm going to say the same advice I gave myself. You need to decide if you're okay with getting hit on the resale value if you ever sell it. Other than that, it's fine. Like I said, it's if you like everything about it, and I personally, and the reason I said 3 years, there's a reason why I said 3 years, is because probably in the next 3 years it's going to get nicked or dinged anyways, and then it won't matter because once it has a nick or ding, it has a mark and a nick or ding, nick or ding, man. Ding or nick, whatever. It has a mark. Once it has a mark, it has a mark. So, I don't know. All right. I see everything twice says, before I mentioned the Fillmore 50 on your show, there were a bunch of them used at Guitar Center. Next day, there were none. LOL, coincidence? I'm glad to see you influencing the community. It's possible. I don't, you hear channels all the time like, I don't like the word influencer. I don't have a problem with the influencer word. The problem I have with the word influencer is that it is misleading by nature, that word. It implies that influence only happens one direction or happens through, one person. And influence does not work like that. Influence is constant. That's it. Influence is constant and it goes all directions. You influence me. I influence somebody else. That person influenced somebody else. And this idea that somehow there's this, and the reason I say this is for this reason. Here's why. I try to explain this to companies all the time. The companies don't understand this. They'll go out and they'll say, we had this channel with 1 million subscribers do a video. This happens. This is a discussion I have a lot with companies. And I go, okay. And they go, and they got us 1 bazillion views. And we sold 3 things. And I go, okay. And they go, and then we had you do a video. And I go, okay. And you got like 30,000 views. And we sold out. And I go, uh-huh. And I always say, And why do you think that is? And they go, I just think people really value your opinion. And I go, okay. And I go, well, cool. You don't think it has to do with the fact that it takes a crazy gear freak to sit around and watch another crazy gear freak talk about gear? I said, you don't think the difference was the person who's got the 1 million subscribers has it because they're highly entertaining and they create really interesting videos and they can bring people in. But a gear channel appeals to gear freaks, and gear freaks are way easier to convert to a purchase than anybody else because they're like, my joke is, and I say this because it's about me, it's like this week I got 3 things to do. I got to go to work, I got to mow the lawn, and I got to buy a guitar. By the way, I'm saying that's me. That's the 3 things I got to do. I got to work, I got to mow the lawn, and I want to buy a guitar. And I go, and now somebody mentioned a guitar, and now I know a guitar I want to buy. So back to back to your comment with the Fillmore. I'm not shocked. It's happened on the podcast many times. We talked about I remember the Dana Electro 59. We mentioned it once. I mentioned it in the background once, and they sold out at Guitar Center that weekend. And we were like, well, that can't be a coincidence because they had a lot in stock and just sold out. Same thing. It's because the reason I say that is because I want to remind everybody, it's not just me, it's us. And that's the important part. So the us factor is a huge part of this equation, more so than me. I can mention the Fillmore, but it's really not that if I mention the Fillmore, they sell out. It's you guys can't wait to buy another amp, and I just mentioned the Fillmore. And I know that because I'm one of you. I can't wait to buy something you guys suggest. I just told you in this video earlier today. Remember I said you guys mentioned something, and then I had to get it. It's the same thing. See, you guys can literally think about this. I can make a video and then you guys will buy something because of the video. And then you guys will super chat me $5 and a suggestion of a piece of gear. And then I buy that, not for the channel, for review, for me. Because I'm the same as you going, oh, that's a good idea. I should get that. All right, let's button these up and let's call the show. We have just a couple quick ones to get through. And the last one is just Margaret, who just wanted to do a super chat to say thank you. That's a perfect way to end the channel. And Meester also did a thank you as well. I want to thank you guys. I hope you guys had a good time. It was fun talking about guitars again as well. If you guys haven't checked out, this week's video was the strap video. And obviously there's some cool videos, including the new Glomer pedal from Pigtronics. Sent out the Glomer pedal. If you haven't checked that out, it's a really crazy different pedal. I'm very excited about it because I was really nervous when we were talking. I was like, I just don't know if I'm ready for another, the same old pedal. And this one looked really weird to the point where I've never worked so hard to figure out what a pedal was. And then I was like, okay, do I like it? And then I was like, okay, maybe I have to do I don't think I can do this video. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, I get it. I'm like, I get it. It's cool. So hopefully that'll be Sunday's video. I want to do that as a Sunday, Monday thing, but it may not work out that way. It may come out in the middle of the week and something else come before that. We'll see how it goes. Either way, I appreciate you guys checking out the content and being part of the weekly show. And on that note, I will let you guys go. I will talk to you guys next Friday, as always. And until then, thanks for your time and know your gear.